Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here, and welcome to another Database Rangers Power Reviews review, where I take a look at past episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews and comment on them. Sorry for the delayed start. There was some sort of error with the stream key right at the last moment, so don't know what just happened there, which means that I currently cannot see the chat. Not sure why. My laptop just did not want to do that. But yeah, I hit go live on Streamlabs and no button was appearing on YouTube, which was weird. Don't know why that happened. That was a little bothersome. But I hope that everyone's doing well, even though I cannot currently see you, because reasons I do not understand. But I can kind of see you in very tiny font over on my computer over there. So, good to see you. Lex, Chris, Scott, Jenny C, and anyone else who might be in there whose names I cannot make out from over here. Yeah, it was just like, I go to hit go live and it's like, stream key is reset. I'm like, why? Why would you do that, YouTube? Why would that feel like a thing to do? But I hope that everyone's been having a good week. This was my first week part-time at work, as I am now taking my parental leave. So I'm getting a little bit of extra time at home to take care of RJ, and trying to make use of that time as well to, get the ball rolling on power reviews for the summer. And again, don't know what's going on with this laptop here and why it cannot load a simple website. That is extremely frustrating. Oh, now you acknowledge that YouTube exists as a website. There you go. So there. So, sorry about the very flustered start that I am having right now. But I do also want to let you know that I did hear back from one of my actors. I heard back from both my actors. One of which I did manage to film with this week, but the other, unfortunately, has been just slammed in terms of their schedule, and so I'm probably not going to be able to see them this month, which it sucks, but unfortunately, there's only so much that can be done. I made the mistake of not getting in touch with them back at the beginning of March, which was apparently their one period of availability before they were then booked solid from the end of March through to the end of May. So hopefully beginning of June should be no problem. So we are looking like 93 will likely be coming out at the beginning of June, even though I am still looking to try and release 94 by the end of June, so that may end up being a double-header month. Not sure. Going to see how that all works out. To those of you who are new to the channel, if anyone's watching out there, I'm sorry for the heavy disorganization here. Obviously, this is top-notch professional production. But I am going to have to figure out what I'm going to do for a scripted video for this month instead of episode 93, which I apologize again profusely, because I did really want that to come out in April, and it was on track to doing so until I realized that I was missing these shots from these actors. So that was me dropping the ball, unfortunately. And yes, I did see the news about what's going on with the Toku fan subs. They are getting those cease and desist orders, which is a shame. In more positive news, we did get the Fan First Friday from Hasbro again for Power Rangers. So we do have some new Lightning figures coming along, which are looking pretty cool. They're really going for some very specific stuff lately, and I'm kind of down for it. I find it hilarious that they're actually going to complete the SPD A squad before they get around to the B squad, and we're going to have In Space Blue versus Psycho Silver from Five of a Kind, and Aisha fighting Trakina from Goldar's Vice Versa, and Andros in a Cloak, which I feel like I need to get, because that's just amazing. Like, they're going for some nicely, like, targeted stuff, and I'm kind of here for it. And, of course, the tease that we may be getting Phantom down the line, which will be a 100% must-have, and I'll have to see about getting somebody to create a custom Database Ranger head for that if we can. But yeah, Did I misspeak when I said Aisha versus Scorpina? I may have misspoke. I don't know what I said instead, but I apologize if I did misspeak. So all that being said, let's dive into this this commentary. We're already getting off to a little bit of a late start, but before we jump in, as always, are 3 equally non-controversial phrases that should be considered, again, equally non-controversial. Number 1, say with me, chat, Black Lives Matter. Number 2, say with me, chat, fascism is bad. And number 3, say with me, chat, superheroes are fun. These should all be considered equally uncontroversial to say. Now, oh, did I accidentally say Trakina instead of Scorpina? That's hilarious. Okay, I am a mess today. This is Jake being full-time parent right now. So, all that being said, let's jump into the 26th episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews, a review of Power Rangers Megaforce, Episode 7. Who's Crying Now? And play.
Previously on Power Review.
They caught fire. And you want to stay...
I love that that's what I chose to open that previously on segment with. Dave's deadpan is a beautiful thing.
Found concealed in a lockbox along with a folio containing some very interesting documents.
And
Yes.
now, Database Rangers Power Review.
I love just grabbing the silliest things from an episode sometimes for
Ranger
the
fans.
previously on clips.
Salutations.
And welcome to Power Reviews. What are you working on this time?
Performing a more thorough background check on our lodger.
Ah, yes.
More thorough background check? Does that mean you ran one before?
Of course. I have to make sure he doesn't have a criminal record. That's the kind of mistake one only makes once.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
I love that she says that while having the Ziggy figure
Well, what
on
did you
the
find out?
on the printer.
Same thing I found out here. Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing at all. So we commence our analysis.
Ah, I love the foreshadowing here. I'd forgotten that I did this much foreshadowing for the next episode.
Absolutely nothing of narrative importance.
Well, at least it's something different. We already have about
We-
twice as many
we just
Zords
keep
in 2 episodes, and they're getting
Skimming through the
really
cards more and more each time.
If you consider rocket-powered disembodied animal heads to be a good thing.
Well, at least they don't have big googly anime eyes.
Those were optical field scanning sensors.
Fair enough.
Regardless, let us return to the subject at hand and delve into our analysis of episode 7 of Power Rangers Megaforce.
Who's crying now? It's another day at Harwood County High when a knuckle crack
This
snapped cue the crowd to start
was like
clearing a path for a pair of
one of the
pups
few
successors
episodes of
on the
Megaforce that
Now, I know
actually
what
did
everyone's going to
feel
say
like
about
it was
but just because
appropriately,
there's 2 high school bullies,
um,
a big guy to skinny
a
guy,
throwback
and
to
antagonized
Mighty
our main
Morphin.
characters doesn't mean that they're a ripoff of Frankie and Joey of Boy Meets World. I mean, come on. Next thing people will be saying they're a ripoff of Bulk and Skull, and that would just be silly. You know what we call new
Wow.
kids around here?
Fresh meat.
Fresh meat.
Really?
The bullies do their best to provoke Troy and make him want to cry, but
Troy was ice. Take a good look.
This
You see any tears?
For once, Megaforce Red's lack of emotion seems to work.
there's a lot of good gags that we get to wring out of this one.
seeing the plight of the boy
I
and his
feel
mother,
bad for that
everyone's
kid
favorite action
because he's the
figure uses
only
his
one that
colorful
actually
red
looks
color
like he's 14.
How small every
Like,
With this irrelevant conflict seemingly concluded,
I teach high schoolers. Like,
openly mocks Creepox and
freshmen, that's what a freshman looks like. We kind of get into the mindset of
After school,
seeing high
it looks like
schoolers
poor
played
little
by
Alex
20-year-olds.
isn't clear yet,
But
as the bullies
that's
are
like,
still looking
this
for
kid looks like
squawks
he's
to
actually
help
14.
Blick Beetle.
which just demonstrates the ultimate effectiveness of Megaforce Red's previous intervention.
But the tables are turned when Creepox arrives and decides to squash them instead.
Yes, I'm sure that alien creature is just interested in planetary currents.
That's also,
Actually, that was pretty funny.
it's a good gag.
An unexpected hero grabs Creepox's attention. See, Troy's intervention did have an impact.
Yes, he inspired an unfit child to confront a creature covered in blades. I'm
This-
sure that lesson will stick with him for the rest of his undoubtedly very short life.
Fortunately,
This
Jake and
episode
Gina arrived just in time to
was
save
really
Alex
interesting to
from
write the review for,
Unfortunately, though,
because
despite their best efforts, Megaforce Rangers
I did
were
actually
surrounded by
enjoy
no
it at the time.
who somehow managed to defy logic and geography
But
by
I saw
throwing
so many
people
people
away.
hating on it when it first came out that I'm just
What
like,
follows is a brutal
oh,
battle,
this is
accompanied by
gonna.
Jake and
These people are
Gina
actually raising some good
rejecting
criticism
Creepox's
points. Like,
views
I
that might make sway.
I enjoyed that it had some sense of stakes because Creepox was just dominating through all the Rangers, and he'd been built up a little bit with his rivalry with Troy in the previous
But
episodes.
Creepox doesn't
It
give
was
them a
very
chance.
minor, but
As
it was
he knocks
more
them
than
out
anything
with a
else we'd been getting this
fiery
season.
meteor shot attack. With 2 Rangers down, he leads
So-
to attack the city.
When I saw other people raising valid criticisms about it, I'm like, oh, I need to actually address this. So,
We've established that intelligence is
Database is voicing
Low intelligence.
all the things I liked about the episode, and I thought it would be fun for Kay to be voicing that dissenting opinion of, other people's frustrations with it.
You know that a mentor is incompetent and relies on a high school student to locate his own technology.
They find Jake and Gina
Yeah.
just as the 2 regain consciousness, and Troy immediately takes control, telling Emma to keep an eye on them and Noah to come with him as they go after Creepox.
Because obviously, 2 Rangers are all that's needed to defeat the opponent that just nearly destroyed 2 Rangers. Then again, perhaps they just don't
Troy-
straight math in high
in-
school.
From his cliffside vantage point, Creepox
Troy in these
summons a
in these
slew
early
of meteor
days
shots to rain fire on
did
unsuspecting
actually have
citizens.
some leadership
Troy
qualities.
and Noah race to the source of
Before he
the
became
where the
all
veteran
obsessed with
Sectoid reveals
Robonite.
that the whole attack
And obviously
has
the
been
performance
retribution
was
for his defeat
very
back in
stiff, as we
episode
all
4.
acknowledged.
Flashback,
But it did actually kind of work for him in this episode.
Make the first strike, but their Mega Blasters prove entirely ineffectual, and Blue is quickly incapacitated.
Also, I genuinely like the fight between Troy and Creepox.
He's wearing a helmet.
He bats Troy around
Yeah,
for a few more
the
moments
tears
before
thing is
attempting
nonsense.
to finish him off with a supercharged meteor shot, which is foiled at the last moment by Noah's defense stream.
Once his watery protection evaporates, though, the 2 are knocked off the cliff, forcefully.
But I liked the style of fighting that, Alita had in Ghost Sager. I haven't seen Ghost Sager, but obviously this is the Sentai footage.
Right, I forgot.
Um,
Teamwork only matters until a Red Ranger says otherwise.
What follows
Nice.
is an incredibly impressive fight scene.
but I love the sword play here. Like this is genuinely
Flipping his blade around
finesse,
like a
well,
master
like
fencer
Even though he has
nicely
no
finessed
established fence
sword
background.
play.
and dodging about like an acrobat, bouncing right back up every time to keep the hits coming.
Like this is just a genuinely excellent fight. The choreography is just really nice. And speaking as somebody who has a fencing background, I really love seeing how well he's able to whip that sword around.
I'm starting to wonder if he actually doesn't know, and is genuinely inquiring as to whether or not he's expressing any emotion. The answer is no.
And yeah, Tino, I agree that there was definitely a missed opportunity with Troy to evolve as a character, as he went from being, the Go Sager source footage to the Go Kaiser source footage. There was a clear change in body language between those 2 Red Rangers, and it would have been really nice if there could have been some acknowledgement of that through Troy's character development.
That was anticlimactic. The others have recovered from their supposedly near fatal injuries just in time to congratulate Megaforce Red on his victory and witness the resurrection of Creepops by Brax Zombats. How many times have they morphed now?
Well, there was Jake and Gia early on, then Troy and Noah, and then Troy again, then Troy a third time, and now the other four, so...
Their morphers obviously have a recharge period shorter than a toddler's attention span. They summon the Gosei Great Megazord, but once again find themselves outmapped by Creepops, presumably due in part to their indecisiveness in the use of their Dragon Sword.
I kind of love how
Lords Gosei
just
for help, and is rewarded for his...
brutal Dr. K is being with this episode.
With a power card for a brand new transformation.
The Hyper Gosei Great Megazord.
Also, yeah,
Actually, it's the Ultra Gosei Great Megazord.
the
Card says
Rangers clearly just get cards for no defined reason.
Any of the text I see during the battle, please.
Good to know this series also provides educational value.
So they combine the Gosei Great Megazord with the 9 Brother Zords.
You mean 10?
What?
2 on each leg, 1 on
Yeah.
each arm, and 2 over each shoulder. 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 is 10.
Also, any excuse to use a cutaway gag from Clue is always
And the
great.
helmet. Where did all these extra Zords come from?
Rewards for good citizenship. At least this ultimate combination can still move under its own power. As the battle against
Having
Creepops
K
culminates
be,
in a showdown
you know,
between the Insectoids,
the
Galaxy,
counterpoint
Meteor
of
and the
this,
Megazords
of
victory
insulting the
charge.
episode really did create a fun interplay between her just tearing things apart and Database desperately trying to defend various things.
Please promise me he will never do that again.
Let's wrap things up. At the brain freeze, the Rangers are met with a snap from
That was a fun
commanding
little
everyone to stop as he
dance
drops
to
the
do.
floor to
Not gonna
rescue
lie,
Howie, Alden, and Flint.
I just wanted to do the Jake dance,
But
being a
despite
Jake
the bullies
myself.
having learned their lesson and their big win against the Insectoids, Troy can't help but wonder what new threats lurk just over the horizon. And that's the end of our episode. So, what did we think of it?
And
Well, obviously this was the best episode of Megaforce to date.
What? What are you talking about?
we did a really good job syncing that up, despite the fact that we were saying different things, but at the same
I
rate.
don't know. How about the extraneous side characters?
You mean the ones that established the core themes of the episode?
And then disappeared for the majority of it, only to have their character dynamic completely transformed off screen.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure having someone save
This
your
was-
life from a giant
This
insect
whole
is
interplay
probably
between
respected
Database and
with
Dr. K
regard to
is
the
also
program.
meant to
So, you'll admit that Megaforce
build
Red
up the
has
conflict
already
between
both
them
their
going into the
and
next episode.
making their connection
Um,
best.
Like,
wouldn't say that, Troy.
I really wanted to try and use this episode as a foreshadowing point for the next episode and as a setup point for the next episode. Because I knew that I had to have the next episode be the one where Dr. K runs out the door and vanishes. That was something that had been in my head since very early in the development of the series. So I needed to figure out how I was going to build that up after I'd spent so much time building up their friendship. So I wanted this to be sort of that first wedge of them disagreeing about a Power Rangers episode. And then the next episode is a much harsher disagreement and also brings to a head the little things that have been suspected for some time.
I've kind of come to terms with the fact that some things just go with the transformation.
Things like an oversized mechanical spinal growth.
All right, not usually on this scale, but that was probably just part of the new power card.
The same power card was referred to it as the Hyper Gosei Great.
Yes, but the cards have
This is
almost
also
never
just a fun
at 7 episodes in,
exploration of the kind of pedantic debates we can get into when it comes to Power Rangers. Like, this is...
Much like this episode.
Can we at least agree that Troy...
Like, this is borderline, like, the skirt debate of Dino Fury.
I'm going to argue that the two aren't linked.
No, but we saw him acting cool under pressure, defending the helpless, taking command in a stressful situation, and defeating a much more powerful opponent through sheer skill and stamina.
Not as much stamina as it took to watch that battle. It went on forever.
Oh, come on, that fight was epic.
If we're talking about length, yes, it was practically Homeric.
It was the climax of the only running arc that Megaforce has had.
Yes, the rivalry with Creepox.
I wish that I could play into this sort of dynamic again, but obviously the show is not in this position story-wise anymore. You know, we had the interplay between Database and the Landlord in episode 92, but obviously that's a different dynamic, and it couldn't just be that sort of contrast on their opinions of the episode. Because it's not in Database's character to hate on an episode, and the Landlord was the one who instigated the review of the episode, so I didn't have that same sort of interplay for them as I do here.
This mockery, if this charlatan was half the hero that Scott was.
And this is where we get to the point. This is where we get to that. That's where we get to the heart of the problem for Kay.
I need to make sure you haven't let someone dangerous into both of our lives.
Wait, you really think?
I don't know. That's the problem. Now can I please get back to work?
Okay.
She's been frustrated this whole time over seeing Power Rangers on TV, and they're not her Rangers. And it has been something that's been brewing underneath the surface for the character this whole time, where she keeps everything at this arm's length. And this is one of the few cases where we sort of break through that exterior. And then the next episode goes even harder on her, as we introduce Robo Knights.
Yes?
If you've got a minute.
All right.
Thanks. Don't
See
know what
there-
I'd do without you.
Until then.
And that little bit there too.
Let the power protect you.
I don't know what I'd do without you. And if you know the next episode, you know how rough that's about to get for Database. I really wanted to make sure that disappearance of Kay was, something that didn't feel sudden or out of nowhere, but was still a gut punch. Because we still, at this point in the series, don't know if she's real or not. And we've been really playing with that, with towing that fine line there. The moment when he sees Mayo for the first time and she looks exactly like Kay, the trade-offs between Kay and Mayo, Kay being able to seemingly vanish when Guy's not looking, or seemingly vanish anytime Guy looks over her direction. So all these little things, she's just constantly staying just outside of everyone's peripheral vision and perpetually making you wonder, does she exist? We even saw a little touch of that with the More Potsners, where, and I really liked the way that shot came out, where they leave and and Database just kind of stares after them because they were asking for, an 8-track and didn't know what an MP3 was. And then Kay just pops in behind him after they've left just to comment on it, like a little, almost like a little angel on the shoulder, someone who nobody else sees, but he's still having conversations with. So I really tried to toy with the tropes of the imaginary friend as best as I could, to sort of draw out the mystery of whether or not she was real. And now we're about to get into the mystery of who Database is, which is very exciting. Because up until now, that hasn't been a question that the show's been asking. And this is one of the few times that we really get that little tease of, Dr. K ran a background check on him and didn't find anything. And we'll hear more about that next episode. So this is almost like a little two-parter in many regards, just because it's sort of the setup and then the payoff with Kay's vanish. And then afterwards, obviously we have the fallout, which leads into the co-host roulette for the next few episodes until we witness the return of Kay and the big kickoff of the actual main story with Alphabet Soup. So I really, I continue to enjoy looking back on these and feeling deeply satisfied with how it all was coming together. It was such a bit of a whirlwind at the time because I was just pumping these episodes out, boom, 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 trying to keep up with the pace at which they were coming out, in real life. Because I was trying to get to that sort of 1 week turnaround on episodes. And then I do get a little disrupted when I eventually find out that they were going to be ending their spring run in episode 9 after previously having done 14 or 16 episodes for the first half of Samurai, and then 13 episodes for the first half of Super Samurai, and then we get only 9 episodes for the first half of Megaforce, and then it's 8 episodes for the next several years. So that was one of the few things that sort of threw a wrench into my planning at the time, but it was definitely fun kind of writing by the seat of my pants in many ways, just trying to keep racing towards the story beats that I knew were coming and trying to make sure they were set up appropriately. And I'm kind of in that same boat now in a certain regard, in that I'm trying to see if I can just squeeze in what I need to do in these final episodes, because now it's not even just a matter of, okay, I need to hit this plot point at this point. It's, I need to hit all of my plot points before the show ends. So there's a lot of stuff to sort of squeeze in there, character-wise, and we are going to be exploring some important character points in the next episode, picking up on some fallout on events that hadn't really been addressed prior, seeing the emotional toll that events have been taking on the characters. And then, obviously, we also have various other crazy twists and unexpected plot developments coming along the road. Welcome, Devious. Yeah, I did just wrap up discussion of the episode. And sadly, it is looking like we will have to wait a little bit longer before we continue the story, but at the very least, I do intend for 93 to be out in June, 94 to be out, if not by the end of June, by July. And same thing with 95. If not by the end of August, then by September. I am confident in my ability to get these episodes out. And I'm confident in my ability to get to episode 96 by the end of this year, so that next year there will only be 4 left to go. Those are things that I am confident in my ability to do. 95 is another one that's largely filmed. 94 is having some issues, but not any sort of issues that can't be resolved. One of the challenges right now I'm facing with 94 is that there were elements of it that were filmed 5 years ago, back when I was using the other camera for my audio, and I've been working on trying to repair that camera because I realized I never got those audio files off of it, and that camera no longer works. So I have to try and figure out how to mount a mini hard drive via the little ribbon on it, and I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. But I intend to, and if not, I'm going to find a way to make it work regardless. If it needs to be voiceovers for certain things, or I need to do some ADR, I can make that work. I am confident in my ability to get that episode put together and out, especially considering how I used to run things back then. It's definitely going to be a lot more challenging now than it was then, because episodes are a lot more complex, and obviously I'm going to be parenting full-time throughout the summer, and I'm teaching still right now half the week, although, you know, I'm still making sure my students have full weeks worth of work to do. So there's definitely a lot of challenges to face, but considering how I managed things during year one, getting 40 episodes out in the course of a year, I do feel like, while I may not be able to do quite that anymore, I feel like I can get these next 4 episodes out for this year. So if I could do 40 in a year, I can do another 4 before this year's over. So, with all that said, I think here's a good place to wrap things up. We're obviously going to have more stuff to continue with the conflict between Database and Dr. K coming to a head in the next episode. But first, let's make sure not to forget our other 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Robots are cool. And I'm hoping that a certain robot may be getting his lightning figure sooner rather than later. Yes, RJ and I had a good day together today. They had some very big, lovely, gummy grim smiles. I'm still getting into the swing of things with regards to, you know, being the weekday parent. But we're getting there. We're getting it worked out. So thank you all once again for joining me on this stroll down memory lane. I'm hoping to continue to have more news for you in the coming weeks with regards to what my May video will end up being, since it's looking like it won't be episode 93. So I'm gonna have to come up with something else for you guys. But until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.